we are going to get into getting ready for camp. We're about a month away. Very excited for this summer. We had a few technical difficulties for those who missed our live getting ready for camp. I'm going to go through the slides now because I think this is going to be a little bit smoother. My name is Lily Mercoliano Easton. I'm the camp director of Camp Wawa Sequoia, and I'm really excited for our 2024 season. And if you have questions at all during these slides or afterwards, or if any concerns are coming up, please do reach out to me via email, and I'm happy to set up a time to talk. We also still have some open house weekends left at camp if you want to come out and be able to see the camp firsthand before we kick off our programs. For all of our campers that are coming out this summer, everybody will get to be a part of a front steps of the lodge photo, just like this. And we're going to walk through today just a bunch of different ways to prepare for camp to have as much fun as possible. Today we're going to talk about our mission. I'm going to go pretty in depth into our required forms, which is just an immediate important aspect for anybody who has not finished those yet. They're now past due, so I'm going to go into what's required and make sure that you get all of that into us. We're going to talk about packing, our routines, and some common ways that we address health and safety at camp, and some good things to know to expect. I'm not going to do a live Q&A in this, but please do follow up with questions if you have them. Throughout this entire presentation, as we think about the next 5 weeks or so, I just want folks to continue to be thinking about this big goal that we have, which is to prepare our campers to be able to come out to camp and live together in the woods. Here we have an example of one of our cabins. They're in the center. You can see them in the back too. And there's our lodge. We'll go through some different pictures of our lake. Really, really beautiful setting. And we are going to have the best time possible when we're able to work together to prepare campers for the transition to this environment. This is our camp mission statement. We do really focus on building a healthy community. Our programs are going to be founded in leadership development, cooperation, and ways to meet new people and make lifelong friendships. As I mentioned, our healthcare forms are all now past due. You find them in the document center. It's important that you log in and check your account. Every form has to be completed. So your camper cannot attend camp and can't be dropped off missing any of these forms. These are required for our accreditation, and they're also required for our state license. The asthma history form, if your camper doesn't have asthma, please just indicate my camper does not have asthma in the little windows that are there. The same for a concussion. Medication authorization, that's a signed document that your pediatrician has to authorize. So it's important that you send that in now if your camper has any prescription medication. So for any medication that you're going to drop off that requires a prescription, there has to also be a medication authorization. That can sometimes take 2 weeks, so make sure that you have sent that in already. The physical has to be from within the last 12 months. If you have a physical coming up in the next couple of weeks, then you can email us and let us know, and we'll make a note. For the insurance card, it's really important that you've uploaded the front and the back. For each of these individualized things, the physical, the immunization, and the insurance card, you can take a photo on a phone and upload it that way if that's easier. Also, please review your emergency contacts and make sure that you've included 2. Lastly, when it comes to the camper health history, please make sure that you have included major adverse life events, any special accommodations related to school or other structured activities, and any other notes that can help us prepare for your camper to have a good time at camp. When it comes to packing for camp, please use the packing list. It is also in your document center, which is in your camper's account. You can find it in the Guardian Handbook. There's a packing list at the back of that. You're going to be packing for 1 week. We do laundry on the weekend. It's really important that you label everything. And my most important reminder for everyone is to make sure that your camper is packing for camp. So some campers are going to need more assistance from grown-ups, but it's very important that's an activity that you're doing together so that your camper is touching and seeing and putting things into their luggage, so that they know what they brought and where those things are once you've left and they're at camp. When it comes to the actual luggage, you're welcome to email me if you'd like any Amazon recommendations. We don't have any required form of luggage that things need to come out in. Generally speaking, campers usually bring a trunk, like one of those foot lockers, that's maybe traditional for summer camps, or they bring plastic totes that go under the bed. Both of those are great. The ones that can slide under the bed are really helpful when it comes to setting up the cabins. You can also send out a suitcase or a duffel bag. I would just make the note that in general, camp is dusty. So if you're sending something like that, expect it to have a kind of rough and tumble experience while it's out at camp. Also, on the packing list, you're going to see items for a wide variety of weather, and it's very important that you send those items regardless of the temperature when you're packing. So it might be 95 degrees when you're packing for camp. We still need you to send the sleeping bag, the sweatshirt, long pants, etc., because in the 2 weeks that they're at camp, the weather could change drastically, and it is always colder at camp. We have a list of prohibited items. Really important that these do not get packed. So don't send a phone, any type of screen device, any apps or things like that. Screen device with any apps. You can send like a device that has just an e-reader on it, or only has music loaded onto it. And it's really important that everything has been cleared out otherwise. Please don't send any food. Don't send valuable items. And don't pack any medication. And obviously, we don't allow drugs, alcohol, or any vapes. I'm going to talk in just a minute about how you can send medication to camp. So if you're packing medication, it's important that any medication, over the counter or prescription medication, is indicated on the camper's health form what medication they take and what the schedule is for that medication. If it is a prescription medication, as I said earlier, you have to send out the medication authorization form. Without that form, we can't administer the medication at camp. For over-the-counter medication, you don't need an additional authorization. You just need to know what the medication is. And it can be medication they take every day, or it can also be medication as needed. Like if you have a camper that will potentially need to take allergy medicine, that's something that parents sometimes send as needed. If that's something your camper is used to indicating when they might need it, you can send that out. Just have the instructions included on their form. We also stock over-the-counter medication, so you don't need to send your camper with any Tylenol, any ibuprofen, Band-Aids, anything that's sort of standard first aid care. You don't need to send. You do need to make sure you've filled out the over-the-counter approvals, which is a checkoff list in their healthcare form. Once you've gotten together the medications that you'll need to drop off, they all go together in a bag, like a Ziploc bag or some other type of resealable bag labeled with their name, and you don't pack it inside any other baggage. So you want to have that loose, contained together in the bag, and you're going to hand that over to the nurse at drop-off. Also, sometimes campers like to bring a pocket knife to camp. We do require that be something that the camper has experience using prior to camp. So it shouldn't be a first day of camp present. That's something that maybe they could bring to camp the next year, but practice using ahead of time. So it needs to be something they're experienced with. And it needs to be a utility knife, like a Swiss Army knife, that's simple. It can't have any type of spring or switchblade release on it. It needs to just be a simple unfoldable utility knife. That should be labeled with their name on it, and you're going to hand that over to the counselor, who will have a safe place to store it. And when there's free time, campers will get oriented on how they can use those if they want to whittle. Lastly, on your health form, you're going to indicate any special diets, food-related allergies, or dietary restrictions that your camper has, and we're able to provide complete meals for all of our campers and various diet needs. There are some times when campers have a particularly restrictive diet where there might be a desire to send like a supplemental snack, some type of safe food that is non-perishable. If that's the case, please contact me ahead of time, and me or Nella, who's our healthcare consultant, are happy to advise. And then you can drop that off with the nurse is when you would drop off that food. But that would just be in the case of a restrictive diet that would depend on something additional. And I'm happy to talk about that in advance and help think about that. I mentioned that we are on the water. We're going to go through a little bit more about our routines and staying safe at camp, and just the ways that we're going to want to have as much fun as possible. In general, we're preparing for active time outside, and plenty of opportunity for a variety of different activities. All right, so when it comes to pickup and drop-off, drop-off is going to be Sundays at 2 p.m. and pickup is going to be the second Friday at 2 p.m. So you're going to drop off on a Sunday. Your campers are going to stay at camp for a weekend, and then they'll get picked up the following Friday. 2-week campers are always staying for that full weekend included session. The weekend is kind of just a normal part of programming. If you're coming for 1 week, you'll get picked up you'll do pickup at Saturdays at 10 a.m. That's only for that third session, beginner week, July 28th to August 4th. For drop off, you're going to go through 4 stations. All of them happen at the top of our field. And so you'll be coming in, you'll go all the way around a field, and you'll be directed out. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a wait, but it should be relatively smooth. You're probably going to want to plan for about a half hour to make it all the way through drop off, and a lot of times it goes quicker, but it's good to give that amount of time. Your first stop is going to be to meet our program director, who's going to give your camper their camper assignment. Then you're going to go through a healthcare stop and meet our healthcare consultant and our nurse. Then you're going to get out of your car at stop 3 and say goodbye to your camper and meet their cabin counselor. Their luggage is going to stay in the car for stop 3. And at stop 4, luggage, then grown-ups, you're going to get out and drop off luggage. I will be usually near the front of this if we haven't met yet. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. But if you go through the 4 stops and you haven't met me, sometimes I get pulled aside for various needs during drop-off. You can let them know at luggage, and I'm happy to come meet you. Sometimes I'm right in the healthcare lodge, which is close to that stop. So just mention at drop-off, there's an easy place where you can pull off next to a porta potty and a bathroom stop. So it's an easy place to take a little stop out of the line, and I'm happy to come out and meet you. Our first day at camp is a little bit different than the rest of our days as we work to orient. So I'm going to go over the first day, and then I'll go over what a typical daily routine is at camp. So our first day, we're going to have camp tours for everybody. Cabins will set up together. It's 6 to 8 campers. They'll pick bunks. Talk some about agreements for working together at camp, and they'll do icebreakers. We'll do some icebreakers as a whole camp. We'll do swim assessments. We'll get together to do an orientation. We'll do a fire drill, and we'll have dinner. Then after dinner, we'll open up our lake. This is a time when we're going to encourage all campers to try something out on the water. There will be staff available if they've never been in a boat. We'll be able to assist campers who are ready to try that out. Then we're going to come together for a big opening campfire. We like to sing a wide variety of songs, and we'll also introduce our campers to the afternoon skill classes that they'll get to choose from. So they'll do a sign up where they'll rank 4 choices from all of the choices of things that they would like to do. Then we're going to have a friendship circle, which is how we close every single night at camp. They'll have cabin time back in their cabin, and lights out will start at 9:30. The routine throughout the rest of the 2 weeks follows this cadence of morning, afternoon, into evening, different activities. Wake up and lights out are always pretty much at the same time every day. Our meals are really consistent, and whatever type of programming we're doing, we'll fit it into this type of routine. We end every session with a candlelight ceremony. It's a really nice way for us to gather together at the end of a session, and reflect on the ways that we've grown and new friends that we've made and the things that we've gained from camp. When it comes to pickup, you're going to come back to those same athletic fields that are at the top of our hill, but this time you're going to be instructed to park and walk down. You'll come down to our main lodge. You'll have time on pickup day to see camp, to see the cabin that your camper was living in and all that sorts of things. If you need accessible parking at the bottom of the hill, right behind the lodge, you can just let the attendant know when you come in that you'll need to come down the hill, and they'll just make sure that the road is clear. So we're happy to have folks come down that need accessible parking, and we always have 4 to 6 parking spots available down there. You're going to do a checkout table, which is where you're going to sign your camper out from camp, pick up any medications, and also if there's medical notes, they'll be available there. Your child will be in the lodge. We'll ask that you check the lost and found. The canteen, which is the camp store, is going to be open. You're invited to grab a last ice cream. You can take a tour of camp, and then you're going to go up the hill where your camper's luggage will be. So all of the luggage will already be transported up by your car. It's going to be arranged by cabin, so you'll look for your camper's cabin name, and then you'll want to take a moment and gather all of their belongings. The most important thing is to look for their laundry bag. So sometimes campers are able to put their laundry bag back into their trunk or their bag or whatever it is, but often the laundry bag is a new piece of luggage that you don't want to forget because it usually has the bulk of their clothes all in there. Again, please take their laundry home with you. Now to wrap up, I'm going to go through some health and safety routines and common things at camp. So again, we're ACA accredited and state licensed, so this provides a lot of the benchmarks that we put in place for taking care of campers while they're at camp. Our healthcare consultant is Nella Stoltz. She's been with us for over 10 years. You will meet her at drop-off, and she's also always happy to consult if you have questions prior to coming to camp in terms of some of the best ways for us to take care of your camper while we're at camp. We'll also have a nurse every session, and you'll meet that person when you come for drop-off. Our lifeguards are Red Cross certified, our counselors are CPR first aid certified, and we're 20 minutes from emergency response. It's a volunteer EMT service. We can also get to the emergency departments in 2 different towns in about 20 minutes, and we're a 40-minute drive to urgent care. So if your camper were to need to see something, if something gets twisted, if they have persistent illness concerns that we think should be looked at by a doctor, any concern related to a tick bite or something like that, then we're going to go to an urgent care that's in Torrington, Connecticut. So we always do try to contact guardians prior to doing that. If we can't contact the main grown-up, then we're going to contact emergency contacts, and we ask that you have 2 of those listed. If we do need to take a camper off site, or if we needed to use emergency services to do that, staff would stay with your camper at all times. When it comes to just some of the most common things that come up to camp, I'm going to go through some of the ways that we handle them and how you can best prepare your camper prior to coming to camp. So the first is when we're looking at illnesses before coming to camp, we do ask that you're cautious and monitor your camper's health prior to coming to camp. So we are a residential program with over 100 people there. So we always have the most success when we're able to screen out viruses or other common illnesses prior to kids coming to camp. So if your camper has a fever of 100 or higher, if they have diarrhea, if they have vomiting, then it's important that they stay home until they're free of symptoms for 24 hours. You can contact us and we'll reschedule drop-off. If your camper gets sick while they're at camp, then we will need to isolate them in the health lodge if they have a fever, if they're vomiting, or if they have diarrhea. You're going to be notified if they are there for more than 24 hours. I'm sorry, there's some typos on this sheet. And we will discuss their progress and a plan for just monitoring their recovery. If your camper is COVID positive, then they'll need to be picked up per our infectious disease policy. We won't be able to hold them at camp for a full COVID isolation period. And usually what we're looking for when campers need to go to the health lodge is we're just going to be paying attention to their overall comfort and how they're progressing. So if campers are continuing to only get sicker, we're usually going to be in touch about them getting picked up, because it can be just honestly challenging for a camper to be really sick while they're at camp. And if a camper is moderately comfortable, their symptoms are improving, and we can see that they're likely to be able to reach that 24-hour symptom-free mark somewhat quickly and then get back into camp, then we're happy to support that. But we'll keep in touch so that we can make the best plan for the camper. When it comes to medications, just another reminder that we do administer medications at camp, but they have to be logged prior to coming to camp. They have to have that authorization if they're a prescription medication. When it comes to mental and emotional health, it is most helpful when we can partner with families. If your camper does have a history of anxiety or behavioral concerns, we like to know about that before camp so that it's on the healthcare history. If your child has an IEP, if they have a 504 plan, if they get other supports in school, the camp environment provides a lot of key differences from school that can allow us to put in different types of supports, and can be a really positive summer experience for all kids. And we do want to know about particular needs ahead of time. And usually the more we know, the more we can actually plan out how to be as supportive as possible when we're thinking about routines and different ways of being supportive for a camper while they're at camp. Bedwetting is very, very common at camp. And so we would ask that you do indicate on the health form if your camper has a history of bedwetting. That helps the counselor know to prepare, to check the bedding. We will wash bedding while the camper is at camp. And it's really important to us that campers don't have any soiled bedding. So we would ask that they make sure to indicate to the counselor if it needs to be washed. And also we would want to just be checking. We do advise pull-ups because those can be really helpful for a camper to be able to discreetly put those on and take them off each day as just a way to keep their bedding clean while they're at camp. Another common concern at camp is homesickness. I really encourage mail to and from camp. So your camper can take things out with them like postcards or some stationery. I see campers have the most success when grown-ups have asked them to write every day. There's time to do that so they can send letters home. And then you can also drop off mail at drop-off, and you can send mail. We pick it up every day. And that kind of back and forth reflection, whether campers are sharing positive news or sharing hardships, can be a really helpful way to process the transition to camp. We do ask that parents don't bribe campers to complete camp, and instead present this as an opportunity for perseverance and for them to find new independence by working through any potential homesickness. And lastly, ticks are also common at camp. So I would encourage, if your camper is coming from an area where they don't know what a tick is, to do a Google search to give them an idea of what a tick is. We'll also talk about them at camp. We encourage packing high socks. We encourage packing bug spray. And those can be helpful to be used daily as preventative measure. And then we also are going to be talking to campers about how to check every day for ticks. And our showers all have full-length mirrors so that campers can also do personal checks on their own when they take a shower. Again, just really want to remind everyone to label everything. Water bottles, sunscreen, shampoo, whatever it is that you're sending out to camp, please make sure it has your camper's name on it. It's very, very common for campers to come with matching items. So putting their name on it can help to keep everything sorted once they make it into cabins. Again, there are no questions that are too big or too small to ask. Please be in touch with me, and I'm happy to help. It's lily@smithpark.org. And we're so looking forward to seeing you and your campers in about a month, or for some, it's a little bit longer. But we're getting very excited. Camp is open. If you would like a tour, please be in touch. We're there every Saturday between now and the end of June.